Alright, so back to Big Kid Legos here. So I do have the radiator mounted. I painted the radiator support to kind of match. Now I'm working on mocking up some of these hoses. This hose I was able to find at O'Reilly. They let me go in the back and kind of look at some hoses. So I traced this cardboard template to get a bend that I needed, and then I bought a hose and then cut it. I think I'm going to be able to use a factory hose to go from down here around the alternator back down to there, but I'm going to put like a 90 elbow, aluminum elbow on the bottom of the radiator and weld that on. So I removed this, and I'm actually going to cut where those two lines are, and then I'm going to shorten this and weld it on. So this is going to go on like here, pushed in a little bit more obviously, and then I'll shorten it, and then it'll be able to bolt up there. Hopefully, that's what I'm going for. Alright, so I think I got the intercooler and radiator bolted up for the final time. I'll still have to put in the hood latch and then make sure that I'm actually able to close that thing. I'm not going to worry about that quite yet though. So I'll show you what I did with these radiator hoses. I did take this one and trim it down. I had cut, I don't know, probably that much of a section out of there, cut it back, welded it together so this hose fits in there nice and nice. And then what I did was I took that section that I cut out of there, and then I cut it at like a 22-degree angle here, here, and here, and then basically made like a pie cut with the original hose, or the original fitting there, extended it out, brought it in at a sharper angle here, and then this is actually the factory envoy hose that I was able to trim. This is the factory connection to the factory water neck here, and then it comes down, and I just cut the hose short and then connected it to my pipe that I welded onto the radiator. On the bottom side here I just welded that 90 to go down and then back up and connect to the hose, so that should work out pretty well. Then while I'm down here, I'll show you the little rear oil majig that I hooked up here. So this is actually the Atlas Industries kit. So it comes with this 180, a nice hose going back. It does come with the P-clamp and the protective sheath on it. And then it comes with a 90-degree fitting, and the 90-degree fitting is already tapped for 8th AN, so you can run the turbo oil feed off of the bottom side of it. And it also comes with 2 of the AN fittings that go into the block and into the oil plate down there. Also took the heater hose fittings out and then just welded those things shut. Instead of buying fittings and putting them in there, just welded them shut. And I think the turbo manifold is pretty much ready to go on there. I'm going to come up with some kind of a gasket for it. I'll probably just use an OEM exhaust gasket. That's the other heater hose line that I welded shut. And then the intake side is actually the one that I'm going to have to come up with a gasket for. I might just get like a rubber gasket and cut the holes out. But I'll probably mock that stuff up in a little bit. I think the next step is going to be the clutch stuff. So maybe I'll do that before I put the intake on in case I got to run lines down there. Don't know what that looks like yet. Alright, so not quite sure where I left off here, but I got the intercooler installed now. I removed the little battery tray here. I'm going to cut this back, I think, a little bit and make room for the intercooler pipe to go this way. The throttle is going to come down like here, probably like this angle. It's going to just miss here, and then I'll have to jog it into there. But my plan for this for now is to cut this flange off and then weld a new plate on there. I was kind of mocking up what the other throttle body bolt pattern would look like. I plan to just use the stock throttle from the 4200. That the holes don't line up perfectly, and some of them are close enough that it would be weird getting threads in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this whole flange off, weld a new one on, and then I'll be able to put the holes where I want them. My plan, if I'm looking from the top, is to run the throttle body actually upside down like this, and the plug will be on the bottom side. So I ordered a chunk of aluminum. It's like 1 inch by 6 by 6 inch, and then I'll be able to do that. But right now I'm working on the clutch here. So I did put the Willwood master cylinder in there. This actually worked out really slick because this had this plate here that was removable, and the Willwood just bolted right into the factory holes. So I just put a little bit of RTV on the backside to seal it for now, and then I'll have to find a way to plug this hole. The cable was coming through this hole, so I just pulled that cable out. Underneath here is a little bit of an adventure. You can see where the Willwood comes through the wall there. It's like it was meant to be, honestly. And this already had a clutch pedal in it. And it's a little bit hard to see, but this is the pivot point for the clutch pedal. And then there's another set of holes up top here. So essentially you can take this clutch pedal and just move it up to the higher hole and then rework the pedal a little bit. So this is the factory pedal here, and you have the pivot point. So this tab here pulled on the cable before. So now what I need to do is flip this tab to the bottom and then raise the pedal up to the upper holes, so the tab will be down here, and then when you push the pedal in, the tab pushes in the master. So just to explain that again, this tab, when the pedal is pushed in, would pull on the cable before. So what I'm going to do, I think the way that I'm going to do it is I'm just going to cut right here and flip this thing down. I've seen people like trim this whole weld out and then put the tab on the bottom, but I think I'm just going to cut it and then flip the tube over. Factory hole was down and this would pull. Now I'm going to move the pedal up to the other hole and then you'll have a little tab that pushes in. But then I also have to cut and extend the pedal a couple inches, so we'll do all that stuff. Alright, well I did it a little differently than I explained. I just cut a new tab and welded it to the bottom. So right now I'm just kind of testing the angle that I want, and then I made a little temporary clevis out of just some flat aluminum bar, and I'm just kind of testing the throw right now and make sure I like that. So that seems like it's going to work pretty good. Now I'll pull it out and fully weld it. Alright, and here's what it looks like with the pedal in there and extended now. So it looks like it does come out a little bit farther than it did before, but the length is good. That's the length from that angle, so I think the length is good. It does just come out a little bit farther. I'll be able to adjust that back here most likely, or I could add a little spacer right in that gap if I needed to somehow. But other than that, I think it works out pretty good. So I'm still waiting for the clevis. That'll be here in a few days. And I'll be able to hook that up and finalize it. I'm going to pull this back out and paint it. Then I should be good to go ahead and do the clutch lines. And those are just hanging down there somewhere. Right there. Those are hanging there. I will need a little bit of an extension because that line only comes up to about here. So I will have to extend that a little bit. Not a big deal. So what do we got on the list? I ordered some material for the intake gasket, mount, radiator, intercooler, fan spacer. That's all done. Coolant hoses. That's done. Clutch bracket. That's done. Rear engine oiler. That is done. Clutch line, got to finish that yet. Throttle adapter I ordered the piece for. Then I can do the intercooler piping. Injectors are ready to go in. Then it's fluids, brake lines, and not sure what I'm going to do yet for a parking brake. Then I think the long portion of it, these are all pretty quick jobs here. I think the long portion of it's going to be the wiring. So we're almost there, almost there. I do want to get all the brake lines and clutch line, all that stuff like done before I start working on the wiring, because I don't want to be tempted to start it or try to start it when I don't have brakes that work. That makes sense? Okay, so my big chunk of aluminum came. That's what I'm going to make this flange out of. So I just have it marked now. This is where the throttle body bolts are. That's just the center point. I'm going to use a 3-inch hole saw, the hole dozer. These work pretty good. And I'm going to make a 3-inch hole with it in it for starters. That's about the size of the throttle body. The inside of the hole is about 3.5. So I'll probably use the lathe to try to taper that out a little bit. But I'm going to start with the 3-inch hole for now. Alright, so starting to get a little bit of a flange here. I made a little bit of a lip on the back so I can seat it inside the hole in the intake. And then now I'm going to try to smooth this out on the inside and then taper it out a little bit towards the lip here. Alright, so I'm going ahead and getting these holes tapped out. I'm using an M6x1, which is the factory bolt thread for the throttle body. And I got 3 of them done already. So I'm just kind of going in a little bit, pulling it out, clean the metal off, because it's going pretty deep. I got the tape mark on the tap, so I know how deep I want to go, because I'm not going all the way through the plate. I just want to go deep enough, but it's not going to go all the way through. I'll throw the wrench on the ground, and then we'll try again. So I'm just going until I get a little bit of tension on it. And I've been doing like 5 cranks and then going back. pull it out and then clean it off. Because I'm gonna try to just do this just with the aluminum instead of doing like a steel insert, like a thread insert or something like that. So I'm gonna try to do it like this. It should be fine with as much thread as there is on this thing, because it's like almost an inch deep. It's probably 7/8 of an inch of thread on there for that bolt, so that should be plenty without putting too much stress on the threads. And after this, it should be ready to weld it on. Alright, so there it is with all the bolts in it. Now I'll mount the throttle up to it. That thing turned out pretty nice, I think. Alright, so it's not welded on yet, but I just have it kind of balanced in there with the gloves. So that's what it'll end up looking like. So you understand now why I want to cut this part out. So I'll probably trim it back to here and then maybe get like a smaller battery or something, or relocate the battery, not quite sure yet. Probably just do a smaller one. Alrighty, so I got the flange all welded on there now and throttle body bolted up. So happy that that part is done. I can move on to the piping and all that good stuff. I do have material for the intake gasket. Might not do a video on that, but that'll be done soon. Throttle adapter. I can take this bad boy off now. And then I'll work on that.